Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing my July wrap-up. Basically, I didn't finish a single book in July. One of the reasons was because I was trying to read Kairos by Jenny Erpenbeck, and let's just say it's one of the most ridiculously boring, overwritten, confusing, and just shit things I've tried to read in a long time. I couldn't even get past page 100, and it took me a whole month to try and read it and then give up on it. So RIP to my reading in July, it was ruined by that book. I'm still technically currently reading Black Holes. Have I picked it up since I actually started speaking about it? No, I haven't. But it's a non-fiction book, so you can just dip in and out of them whenever, really. I'm also still reading American Psycho. It's a bit of a slog, because literally every other sentence is a description of what people are wearing. The pace is slow because of that. Like, I want him to murder people. I want him to be like, hey, Paul Allen, who isn't even Paul Allen in the book, chop him up with an axe and, yeah, try again on a reservation at Dorsia. But that's not happening. Patrick Bateman, do some war crimes, please. Yeah, so I will finish reading it probably in September, because we're like halfway through August and I still haven't finished. Spoiler alert. My August wrap-up's going to be very similar to this one. Yeah, so they're the ones I'm still currently reading. I think I forgot to mention last month that I started reading the audiobook of A Game of Thrones. I have got like 10 hours left of it, so yeah, it's actually been really enjoyable listening to it on audiobook, because it's the kind of book that is just too chunky, and I think, like I said, some of the oh no, maybe I did talk about it, because some of the POVs I'm never gonna finish reading them because it's just like, oh, snooze fest. But if it's like 20 minutes while I'm driving to work, where else have I got to be? Yeah, so I've already spoken about it, so there's nothing new. It very much follows, I mean, obviously, where I'm at in Game of Thrones is I've come from it from the show. So in my mind, the show came before the book, even though obviously the book came before the show. But it just kind of shows how easy the showrunners had at making it a good show, because the writing's great. There's like lines picked straight from the page into the show, and the plot is basically very, very similar. In fact, I'm struggling to find where they may have diverted in the first season. Perhaps they start diverting further down the line and then just fuck it all up in the last season because I didn't have a book to go by. But yeah, no, like, it's great. Love it. Talking of shows, I recently watched the second season of Interview with the Vampire. Technically that was on the 1st of August, but we're just going to talk about it now because it leads to... There's this book that I started in July, and that's The Vampire Lestat by Anne Rice. I'm currently 200 pages in. It's a bit of a chonker, so I'm taking it slow, but I'm enjoying it so far, and like... Lestat is iconic. The fact that he's a rock star in like the modern day of this book just fits so well. And I'm very excited to see how they adapt this for the show, because Sam Reed, who plays Lestat in Interview with the Vampire, is literally so magnificent. So like, it's kind of led me to continue with this series, watching the show, because I read Interview with the Vampire when I was like 17, 18, and then I broke up with books for a while because school made me hate reading for a while, because it was just like, oh, you have to read rather than you want to read, and so then I didn't continue the series back then, and then years and years went by and I just felt like, oh, I'd have to reread it, and then part of me thought that this was a retelling of Interview with the Vampire but from Lestat's point of view. I don't know whether it covers parts of it, and then part of me was like, well, why would I read the same book just from his point of view? But I don't know, maybe that was juvenile me thinking. But yeah, so like, the show has made me come back to this series and I'm really enjoying it so far, and this thoroughly worn copy is probably like the best looking copy I could find, because most of the covers for these books are disgusting. And I very much do judge my books by their covers. So that's all the books that I kind of read in July / are still reading. Let's talk about movies. I don't think there's actually that many movies that I watched in July. But there was one that was like literally one of the most amazing films I've seen in a long time. But we'll get to that soonish. Okay, I already spoke about Kinds of Kindness in my June wrap up. But I actually technically watched that on the 1st of July, but we won't care about that. The next movie I watched was The Mummy, like the 1999 iconic family adventure movie that literally was my childhood. That, Indiana Jones and Jurassic Park literally were the films I was raised on. Yeah, so this was shown as like part of a 1999 showing for some reason at Cineworld, so I went to see it, and I just loved that movie, and it was nice to see it on the big screen when I'd only ever seen it at home, and yeah, I don't really have any notes because it was great. Then I watched a short film, and the reason why I watched this short film is because it is by Bong Joon-ho. I think I saw it on Mubi, but it's actually his like film school graduation film, which is insane because this was a fucking great movie. And this dude literally can do no wrong in my books, and it just proves that he's just got a really clever mind, even from his first, not feature length, but first film he made, and he was technically still at film school making it. So it's like 3 interconnected stories in a short film that don't seemingly connect until something happens at the end, and you're just like, ah, but it's all about like people, I don't know how to say it, but I haven't told you what it's called Incoherence. Well yeah, literally the synopsis on Letterboxd is the misadventures of 3 seemingly unrelated South Korean men. But yeah, they're all, I don't really want to spoil it just in case anyone watches it, but it's just men doing bad things, and then it shows how they connect at the end, and it's just like, aha, this is a social commentary. This is the kind of themes that Bong Joon-ho plays with throughout his filmography. Like when you look at Okja, it's about environmentalism, capitalism. His most famous work so far, Parasite, again is about class system, capitalism. Who's the real parasite? Is it the poor or is it the fucking filthy rich? Yeah, so like a lot of his movies have, oh, it's Snowpiercer as well, like obviously it's based on a French manga, I think, or French comic book, but again it's like class system on a train in a post-apocalyptic future. Mother, I swear that's about like social issues as well. Like he's a very interesting filmmaker, making films about his country, about society, and yeah, I just love his work, so it was cool to see one of his earliest pieces of work. Yeah, so watch it if you are a Bong Joon-ho fan. It is literally on Mubi in the UK at the very least. Then randomly I saw a cheesy feel-good movie. I do that. Although technically The Mummy is also a cheesy feel-good movie, so I feel like 2 in 1 month is very out of character. But I saw Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. I don't know why I watched this. To be honest, it was just a bit too light and fluffy for me. It was a bit too annoying, like everything goes her way. And it's just like a bit too like positive, to the point that I was feeling a bit sick because it was so sugary. But it's basically about a working class cleaning lady whose husband has gone missing in the war, presumed dead. And she cleans other people's houses, and then one day she's at like a really rich bitch's house and sees the most beautiful Dior frock, and then she's like, oh, I'm gonna go to Paris and get one of these dresses, because of course you are, love. But lo and behold, spoiler alert, she fucking goes to Paris, and everyone's so kind to her, and somehow she ends up staying with some random man that she met at the shop of Dior. And everyone's just so kind to her, and everything goes her way in the end. Oh look, it's such a feel-good movie that I felt sick. It's alright, but I wouldn't recommend it. Then I watched Daisies, which is a 1966 Czechoslovakia film, or a film from Czechoslovakia / the Czech Republic / Czechia. And I apologise, I cannot pronounce the filmmaker's name. I think it's Vera Chaitilova, and it's just a very kind of odd expressionist film about two girls who kind of just go around terrorising everyone around them, and then it goes a bit solemn at the end, and I swear there was like real life imagery of bombings and things. It's like a very political commentary, and I've kind of forgotten most of the film. And the symbolism, oh god, I should have written it down. But yeah, it just felt like it was trying to say something about war and greed maybe, and playfulness and something. If you've seen Daisies and you can let me know what it's about, please let me know in the comments. How embarrassing, I watched a movie and I don't know how to describe it. So it's just a standard wrap up for me then. Then I watched one of the best films I've seen this year, and that was Perfect Days by Wim Wenders. And this is just literally a slice of beauty, but it's about a Japanese man who works in Tokyo as a toilet cleaner, and it follows his very simple and slow daily life doing his job and existing, and it's one of the most soulful and beautiful films, and it really kind of just hit me and just made me think, oh, stunning, like a small life isn't necessarily a bad life, and there's just something very poetic and graceful about just a slow meandering and just a presence of being, a way of being present in the moment that just feels so rich and luxuriant. Like, just there's moments where he's taking his lunch break and he just sits in this park, eats his lunch, and just watches the light glisten through the trees and like the sights, the sounds, and it's just like, oh, beauty is all around, only if we take notice of it. But yeah, it's a very soulful, beautiful film. I urge anyone who loves Japanese cinema, who loves kind of small character studies that kind of leave you feeling like your life may have been slightly changed in a way. Because I feel like this summer I've kind of slowed down a bit, and maybe that's a result of watching this movie. Like, I've just kind of existed and kind of felt not guilty for being. I don't know. But yeah, it's very beautiful. It's a lovely film. Then I watched Medusa Deluxe, which is a rather random film. I think it's on Mubi, like I was having a Mubi moment. And like the tagline is murder obsession hairdressing. And it's basically a murder mystery set at a hairdressing competition in London. And it's a one take. That had me sold. Was it good? It was okay. I feel like the gimmick of the one shot kind of got a bit boring after a while, because a lot of the time, to make it flow well, you were following characters and very much from the behind, because logistically it would have been fucking impossible to be in front of people walking backwards, all that. So the very gimmick of it essentially kind of made it a bit shit. Which is a shame, but yeah, no, it was kind of cool. Kind of cool, kind of interesting. And there's a random dance-off at the end. Well, not a dance-off, but just a group dance randomly at the end. But I thought it was quite interesting. And yeah, the hairdressing. And there was like a moment where you just saw it coming, and it was just kind of like, oh, fucking Chekhov's gun. We can't break away from that, can we? Like, once you learn about filmmaking techniques or storytelling techniques, quite often you can just kind of write the plot yourself, knowing exactly where they're going to go with the story, because everything just becomes so fucking predictable when you know how to write stories or dissect stories. But yeah, it was alright. Nothing really to sing home about, which is a shame, because it felt like it was going to be kind of out there and something fresh and new, but it just didn't deliver. And then the last film I saw in July was Master Gardener by Paul Schrader, and I think this was a good film. And again, I can't really quite remember. I know it was like a bit kind of jarring. I thought this guy was like an undercover gangster, but it turns out he was actually like a reformed Nazi. Ew. Especially with all the like the far right shit that's been going on recently. It felt a bit icky watching this, but it felt a bit icky after watching it, because I didn't realise until I watched it that that's what he was. But yeah, like, it's quite beautifully shot. And it also, like, I read a bit about the film, or like read some of the reviews, and people were saying that Paul Schrader said it felt like a fairy tale, and in a way it fucking did, because the fact that this Nazi guy becomes good and becomes respectful of other people, and like he has a romance. I mean, unfortunately she's very young, but he has a romance with a black girl, and it kind of feels like a fairy tale scenario of like people kind of turning away from hate, and it feels like at the moment we're not able to do that. Like, there's a lot of people just tarnished by hate, and it stays with them. And like the riots in England recently kind of showed how just disgusting and racist some people are. Like, these riots they were never motivated by the death of women, because women die fucking all the time and they don't cause riots. It was racially motivated, and it just so much burning hate, and it feels like we're not going to get past it, and it scares me sometimes. But yeah, so this film felt very much like a fairy tale watching it, because yeah, it's just full of hate at the moment. I thought it was quite a decent film, and it's got what's-his-face in it that was in... I watched a TV show with him recently, Dark Matter, what's-his-face, Joel Edgerton, which I think he's like such a good actor, but like totally underrated. But yeah, he was in this, and he plays his character like marvellously, very stoic and centered and in control. His journaling habit in this is like the dream, because I have a journal and I just can't stick to it. But yeah, it was an interesting watch, and I think like a lot of the time people kind of get hung up on watching films about bad characters and kind of thinking, oh, can I enjoy a film about a bad character like this? I mean, obviously he's actually not a bad character, because he turned away from a path of hate and became good, but a lot of people wouldn't watch a film with a former Nazi as the main character. I don't know. Well, he's like a neo-Nazi because he's American, so he's not actually technically a Nazi. I've said Nazi too many times in this video. Right, yeah, anyway, that's the end of that segment. Let's talk about TV shows. Vikings Valhalla, I saw that. Kind of disappointed actually, because I like kind of totally thought they were going right up to the end of the Viking era with the it's in 1066, but not the Battle of Hastings, the one before that where Harald Haraldra dies in like Yorkshire, because technically he is the last Viking, even though Vikings still existed after that. But yeah, they didn't. Like, I wanted him to die in a glorious battle. But yeah, they ended it before that, and I was just kind of like, oh, well, that's a bit rubbish. But yeah, it was alright. It was an okay end to a show that was pretty okay. I'm really selling it. Then I also started watching, but haven't finished because it's still ongoing, Sunny, which is an Apple TV show. It's about an American woman living in Japan, and her husband and young son die in a plane crash, and it's about her getting over it, but it's also set in a futuristic Osaka. It's set in a futuristic Osaka where there's like home bots, like little robots and things like that, and it's really quite funny. It's got Rashinda Jones in it. Oh god, my eyes. Sorry, allergies. Yeah, so it's quite funny, quite charming, and yeah, it's just like an interesting meditation on grief. And then also like the idea of, do you really know your spouse or your partner? Because like after he dies in this, things come to the forefront that are shocking or just totally unexpected for the main character. Yeah, so that's pretty good. It hasn't finished yet, and I will let you know at the end of August when I think it may have finished. Then I watched season 3 of Slow Horses, another Apple TV show, because I've currently got 3 months for free, so I'm literally binge watching everything Apple has made. I love this show. It's so funny, it's so amusing. Gary Oldman is literally iconic. Like, him being your boss would literally make you want to kill yourself. Or quit. Maybe less hasty than death. But yeah, he's just such a grumpy bastard, but his insults are very delectable. Yeah, it's like basically MI5, but they're all shit. And they're all like dumped into what they call Slough House, which is like where MI5 agents go to die because their career has been ruined by their incompetence. And in this season, I think they're all based on books. This is based on the book Real Tigers, and it's basically about I don't really want to tell you what it's about. But yeah, no, it's really good. Like, if you haven't watched Slow Horses yet, totally watch it. It's hilarious, it's thrilling because it's like a spy thriller, and it's interesting. It kind of like makes you think about how the secret agency, the secret MI5 and like MI6 and all those secret people, secret services, that's it, keep you safe, and like how morally bankrupt are they as well, and like how far would they go to cover their backs. It's very interesting, and yeah, it's cool. But yeah, anyway, that is the end of the video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you again soon. Also, let me know what you've been watching and what you've been reading in the comments. Bye bye!